The John Lebang Show has been known to make people laugh, sing, think, scream, throw things in rage, and generally lose their minds. Listener discretion is advised. Greetings, Earthlings, and alert the media. The John Lebang Show is coming at you one more time. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, John Lebang. Thank you for joining me. We have a lot to discuss, so let's get right to it. Apparently, Donald Trump fires Rex Tillerson via Twitter on Tuesday. And, well, that's not the best way to fire somebody, if you ask me. He said it had been... This is Rex Tillerson said it had been more than 3 hours between the announcement on Twitter and the Twitter Don talking to him, and instead of firing him face to face, he was on Air Force One. And, well, Rex Tillerson didn't have anything nice to say on his way out, of course. He was fired and replaced by CIA Director Mike Pompeo. And Tillerson's last act was to blame Russia for poisoning a former spy at a British pizza restaurant. Tillerson, a former boss of ExxonMobil, had just been on a trip to Africa where he was seen boarding his Air Force plane on Monday. Jean Haspel becomes the first ever woman to be director of the CIA after a clandestine career and involvement in black sites. Tillerson has disagreed with Trump on Iran and North Korea, but Tillerson had been also reported to have called the president an effing moron. So I guess that's why he probably fired him. But was this the right move by President Donald Trump? And is this the kind of leader that you want in office? Somebody who can't look you in the face, and the way he handles things is through the social media. Now, his followers would say that's fine, but as a boss, how are you going to work for this guy in the future? How is anybody going to be able to work for this guy? Would you want to work for a guy who handles things that way? You know, I've had my share of really bad bosses in my day, and I've had a couple really good bosses. And the ones that are the best ones are the ones that lead by example, and the ones who just don't fly off the handle for any stupid reason, and they don't fire you, they don't yell at you, you don't get in trouble just because something happened and they can't handle it. A lot of people have gone along with the Donald on just about everything that has happened during the last year and a half with his administration. Now we're seeing that this guy is not acting like a leader. If you're telling me you want to work for somebody, you want somebody leading the country that can't handle things face to face and has to do things through the social media, especially firing a guy, wouldn't you? I mean, if it was me, I mean, there's some professionalism that goes into being the president, isn't there? You have to have just some remnants of professionalism. I mean, it is the most important job on the planet, or at least the most important leader position on the planet. And if you're going to handle things via Twitter all the time, instead of dealing with things face to face, especially in these firings and get rid of people, then there's something wrong there. You see his approval rating ticking up, and I don't know how it's ticking up. Because, they're talking, you're losing seats on top of it. Things aren't adding up again. The FBI, Andrew McCabe, was fired this week as well, a little more than 24 hours before he could retire. Jeff Sessions announced the decision in a statement just before 10 p.m., noting that both the Justice Department Inspector General and the FBI office that handles discipline had found that Mr. McCabe had made an unauthorized disclosure to the news media and lacked candor. Yet the president is going to fire somebody via Twitter. You can't be hypocrites if you're going to run the government. This is the problem we had with Hillary Clinton. She would talk all fantastic in public, yet behind the scenes, she was manipulating things via the Clinton Foundation or other means. So how are we supposed to deal with an administration? And I'm speaking the people who voted for him, the people who voted for Hillary. They're not going to like him anyways. But the people who put their support behind this guy, how are those people supposed to just follow along after stuff like this? On one hand, you're too cowardly to fire somebody face to face, warn them in advance. No, you fire them via Twitter. Then you get angry because some guy goes to media outlets and talks about things that you don't like him talking about. So you fire him before he can retire and get that marvelous pension from the government. And I don't care if he loses his pension. I don't think you should get pensions being in the government. You're serving the people. You're not there to benefit from anything, and you shouldn't get any benefits yet. Whatever. Some people are going to get mad about this guy being fired and not getting the benefits. My only problem is the administration is being very hypocritical at this point. You can't go on social media and pull the stuff you pull, and then when somebody goes behind your back to media and reports stuff that you don't like, you fire them. See, the diehards, especially in the alternative media, the diehard Trump supporters that see nothing wrong with what he's doing are going to be saying that he is just draining the swamp by chopping this guy and this lady and this guy and moving this person in. Is he draining the swamp, or is he just putting people that are going to be yes men? See, this is what I'm seeing here with the Trump administration, is that he wants yes men. And if you're not a yes man, and if you don't give him exactly what he wants, I thought he was the great dealer. Make deals, make deals. But it looks like he doesn't want to make deals. He doesn't want to compromise. He wants what he wants. And if you can't perform for him, if you're not 100% behind him, if you oppose some of the things he does, you're out of there, you're gone. And I understand being a leader, a person in charge, that you want people that will do the work for you, that will get the job done. You don't use fear for everybody to do their job right. That's no way to run a company. That's no way to run a government. But what do we expect? What do we really expect from the political parties that exist today? They gave us Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, so people had to go Trump. People had to go Trump because that was the best the political parties had to offer us. And don't think it's going to get any better because we're hearing Oprah Winfrey coming out of the Democrat side. So they're not learning. They want to put whoever they put in charge there, they just throw somebody up there. As long as they do the Democrat thing or the Republican thing, they don't care. And are we seeing a drain in the swamp? Or are we just seeing Donald surround himself with yes men, yes women? Because now we have a new CIA director. That's a woman. First woman ever. So he's breaking barriers. But it's funny how the mainstream media are portraying this lady. Oh, she was part of black projects and she was involved in all those torturous activities. That's what the CIA is about, isn't it? You got to get information out any way you can. Maybe the CIA, something's wrong there. We know there's something wrong with the FBI. We know there's something wrong with the Justice Department. The TSA. More government. All these government agencies. And the more we look into them, the longer they exist, the more we find out that corruption is the rule. They'll surveil you, but they want to keep secrets away from you. They'll perform torture, but they'll throw you in jail if you do the same kind of thing to somebody. If you were to go and take a bunch of money out of somebody's check, that would be called theft, stealing, fraud, depending on what way you did it. Government can do it all day. Nothing wrong with that. As long as they provide some benefits for you, the ladies and gentlemen of the country ship, the citizenry, which no longer is made up of citizens. It's citizens and non-citizens, illegal and legal. We don't know which way we're going anymore. We don't care which way we're protecting. We got a guy in office that acted like he wanted to do a lot of good things for the country, and now we're seeing a year and some months later that it hasn't changed a whole lot. And their biggest accomplishment was a tax plan that only helped out corporations, and it barely even touched somebody's pocketbook. The individual. $3, that's what I got in my favor from the great tax plan. $3 in a 2-week period. How many billions of dollars have the companies saved? Sure. That's a fair tax plan. And that's the best. That's the best the Trump administration has to offer as of, 15 months in office, 14 months in office? That's the best. It's like the road situation here in Michigan. We'll get to that. Unbelievable. The corruption on every level of government, yet people think government will solve the problems. Be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Taking our first break. More on the flip side. Now, don't get your panties all worked up.
The Jayla Banks Show will be right back.
And you'll love it. CRRM, CarePoint Billing Services. Their billers and managers are all dedicated to working for you to increase your profits. For more information, call CRRM at 248-579-3805. CRRM, CarePoint Billing Services. Check out the new book from Derek Shelmerdine,
Rock and Roll Unravel.
It tells the story of rock and roll from its roots right up until the mid-70s punk.
Rock and Roll Unravel.
Not just the music, but also the events that shaped the music.
Rock and Roll Unravel.
It includes the backgrounds to recording sessions, singles, album releases, births and deaths, epic concerts, and festivals.
Rock and Roll Unravel.
Shelmerdine has made a painstaking effort to document pretty much every event that would prove significant in shaping popular music.
Rock and Roll Unravel.
Purchase the book at www.rockandrollunravel.com. Follow them at Twitter at R&R Unraveled, and look them up on Facebook at Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
By author Derek Shelmerdine.
Available now.
You're listening to the John Lebang Show.
Join the radio revolution right here.
It's better than some good Thai stick, man.
Yes, I would like some too.
Now, Donald Trump's lawyer, Michael Cohen, wants a lawsuit brought by porn actress Stormy Daniels moved to federal court and claims the woman could owe $20 million in damages for violating a non-disclosure agreement. Why do you care?
Oh, baby.
So the truth might come out about Donald Trump having some kind of relationship with a porn star. Most people don't give two craps about it, but because it's coming out, she's probably going to make a lot of money. They're going to try to sue her for $20 million. Again, this is the best we had to offer. Again, this was the best the Republicans had to offer in the last election. I mean, we should be thankful, right? Here's Hillary. She goes to India and she slips down the stairs despite two men holding her up. She can't even stand up anymore. I mean, it's a shame. This broken down lady. That's not all, though. Hillary fractured her wrist after slipping into a palace bathtub during the India trip. Again, this was the best the Democrats had to offer. A woman who could not do all the traveling that is entailed when you're the president, who's falling apart. It's sad to watch. So that's why, or at least part of the reason why we get a Donald Trump. He was more physically fit, if you can imagine that. More physically fit than Hillary Clinton. Her wrist injury is worse than originally thought as well. So who knows what's going to come from that. She canceled her appearances in Judapar, or whatever that city's name is, this week. Doctors advised the 70-year-old to rest, but the pain grew unbearable, so she was taken to the hospital early Wednesday morning. Can you imagine an Indian hospital? Hopefully they have top-notch physicians out there, and they haven't all come to the U.S. to be doctors, at least the best physicians. A CT scan and x-ray confirmed that she had a hairline fracture in her wrist. This is the second time former presidential candidate has injured herself on her India trip. She slept on the steps, like I was saying earlier. And this is, again, the best the Democrats had to offer. A broken down lady. I'm not even trying to pick on her. But she couldn't handle the obligations of the office of presidency. So we ended up with Donald Trump, who obviously doesn't know how to be president very well, or presidential. When are the American people going to realize that the Democrat Party and the Republican Party are useless, and we need to find a new way? And I'm not talking about changing the voting, the way we vote. I'm talking about how we pick these people to even get into a race. Because the so-called elite aren't so elite when you have Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton as your best options. More on Hillary Clinton. She says white women voted for Trump because their husbands told them so. So women, according to Hillary Clinton, aren't smart enough to think on their own, smart enough to decide who was best suited for the presidency. So they went with Trump because their husband told them so. Now, do you believe that, ladies and gentlemen? Do you think women are so naive, so uninformed that they would only vote for Trump because their husband told them so? And she's, of course, blaming it on the fact that, well, Democrats don't do so well with white men. And they don't do so well with married white women because apparently there's something wrong there. I'll tell you why. It's a very simple answer, Hillary. The Democrats don't pander to them enough. And because they don't pander to that core group that you're speaking of, that demographic, because they don't pander to them, you don't get their votes. The Republicans pander to them. And that's all it is at this point. It's pandering. 15 months into a Donald Trump presidency, and we have a tax plan that helps the corporations out, not too much on the individual. The individual didn't do so much. Next year, the families will see a little bit more back because they got a tax credit because they were pandered to by the Republicans. Hey, if you got kids, we'll just double that tax credit. What the hell? That's awesome. Twice as much money coming back from the government, taken from other places, because a lot of these people who have children that you can at least are old enough to claim on your taxes aren't all that rich. And they probably don't pay a whole heck of a lot of taxes. Some do. It's just a whole cluster frickin' mess here. Despite what the parties will tell you, are unqualified to run for president. They just don't have the qualifications. They're not presidential enough. They're not healthy enough. They're not sane enough. Now we got to deal with the social media aspect. Whatever happened to the bully pulpit? That's become Twitter for the Twitter Don. He just uses that as the bully pulpit. Schmendricks, these empty suits. Donald Trump was the lesser of two evils. That's for sure. We thought he might actually try to drain the swamp. But what we're seeing is that the whole thing's in disarray. I don't know if he can handle criticism. I don't know what's going on in the White House. But I'm not liking it. To me, the White House has to be above a whole lot of stuff. Politics and all. You have to represent every single American. And if you're going to fire people, whatever, you're going to follow some kind of professional process and not run to Twitter for everything. Do you know how mad I would be? Do you know how mad I would be? What kind of enemy you would make of me if you were my boss and instead of pulling me in a room and saying, hey, there's a problem here, we need to go our separate ways, we figure out how to do that in private, whether you fire me, whatever. Do you know how much of an enemy I would be if you came out on social media and just said, hey, listen, Jayla Banks fired. Sorry, he's fired. I didn't have the guts to tell him face to face, but I'm going to tell all of social media and it'll get around to him and he'll find out eventually because people listen to my social media. Why do people listen to these guys' social media? It's the same with the 4chan stuff and QAnon. Everybody's jumping on that bandwagon because they don't even know who this guy is. He could be a total internet troll that just knows a little bit of stuff. I mean, if you pay attention, you'll see that QAnon, what he's telling people, it's not so mysterious. All you have to do is pay attention to the news a little bit, and you'll be right in line with Mr. QAnon, whoever this Schmendrick is. And there's a whole bunch of YouTube channels that are now giving this guy all kinds of credence. It's making me sick. In fact, as I said last week, we're slowly but surely moving off of some mediums and we're going to other mediums. And we're going to go where the crowd appreciates us and put some time into us. There's no point of going to a place that has a bunch of fake people on it and attempting to give them something worthwhile, try to attract them to what you're doing, because most of the people on certain places are just, they don't care. They'd rather live in fake world, and I'm too realistic. On the other side of this, we're gonna run up against a break here real quick, folks. And I know I'm kind of rambling tonight. Be right back.
You're listening to the John Lebang Show.
It's what's cool on radio.
Hello, this is the D. How can I help you? Beverly, is that you? Oh, it's so huge to hear from you. Been a long time. No, I haven't been able to get over there. Been kind of busy doing my thing here in the White House. I just saw Vlad last week. We had a great time. How's Hillary doing? I heard she had a spill. Glad to hear it. Can you hang on? Alright, sorry about that. I'm gonna have to get off now. Yeah, I did fire you via Twitter. Don't tell me how to run my office. This is the big leagues, and if you can't deal with it, go cry somewhere else. I don't have to tell you you're fired. I'll just tweet it. That's the best way. I don't care I was on the phone with you first. Oh, quit being such a baby. No, that's fake news. I don't want to hear it. I gotta go. Big news coming up. Gotta do another tweet. Whatever. It's huge.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. Listening there. Don't go anywhere. The John Lebang Show's gonna be right back. Just ask the hillbilly.
That's right. Right after this.
What about me? Maybe next time.
Powerful, epic music by Toothbox Row. Life-changing lyrics come in every style, empowering humanity to finally unlock the chains of bondage. Experience the edgy side of positive music and rock your world today. From Primal to Divine, available now at sassyalternativemusic.com.
Okay, fellas, let's play smart out here.
Yeah, we all know how to play hockey. I've never played before. Okay, well, most of us know how to play.
Welcome to virtual infinity.
So much for my fear of drowning. Now what do we do?
I say we really know best. What do I owes the pleasure of this quiz? We got a big problem here. Run, Leroy, run!
Don't let it grab you.
Holy faces!
Counting this plane, Virtual Infinity, a special presentation of the John Lebang Show.
If you are elderly, disabled, receiving SSI or Medicaid, and you have a medical need or require assistance with daily housework, shopping, grooming, medication, you may qualify for housekeeping at no cost. Call now, VIP Home Healthcare, 248-579-3805. VIP Home Healthcare, there when you need them. That's 248-579-3805.
Fans, do you need a video for your brand new song but don't have a lot of money? Then contact John Lebang. His reasonable rates, professional look, and fast turnarounds will help get that song off the ground. Contact him at jaylabang.com.
Hey, man, it's at the bottom of the hour, man. Do you know where your kids are, man?
In other news, United Airlines has diverted one of their flights after a dog mistakenly placed on the plane. The wrong plane, that is. We had the dog pass away because it was stuck into a little compartment just, a week ago prior. And I can tell you, I don't know why people bring dogs on the plane. In my opinion, they don't belong there. And I've had a personal experience that I'm going to share with you. And this, if anything, should wake some people up if they care about their animals. Years ago, I had brought my dog on a plane trip. And after the trip, we moved back to Michigan, actually. After the trip, the dog never was the same. I don't know what these people, how they stored the dog in the plane, how they treated the dog. But after that experience, the dog was skittish. The dog was protective, overprotective. And he just didn't act the same. And I think that we shouldn't be bringing dogs on airplanes. I think it's cruel. Now that I look back on it, that was one of the mistakes I've made in my life, was bringing the dog on the airplane to come back. I should have just drove back. If you're going to bring a dog on some kind of vacation or trip, drive there. Drive there. Or don't bring the dog. Put the dog in a boarding place. Something. Have a dog sitter. If you're in Michigan, let me know. I'll dog sit your dog. We'll work out some kind of fee or something. Because taking dogs on a trip, they don't know what's going on. Second, we don't know how they treat dogs, animals in general. But I have a feeling they're not treated all that great. And after the way my dog reacted after that trip, I just think it's something cruel, and we shouldn't be bringing dogs on trips, at least via an airplane. Take the dog on a trip if you're driving. Dogs love car rides. I don't think they like plane rides as much. Remember, they have different sensitivity with their hearing and their other senses. And that cabin pressurization can affect them. On top of a whole lot of other human issues, being around a whole bunch of strangers. We had the one dog that pooped on the plane. Why do you have a dog on a plane? What else is in the news? Don't threaten a nuclear power. Putin rejects British ultimatum on Russian spy attack. Vladimir Putin envoys in the UK have refused to respond to Britain's ultimatum over the chemical attack of former British spy Sergei Skripal and his daughter Yulia in Salisbury. In a statement on Twitter, the Russian embassy threatened retaliation if Theresa May was to respond with punitive measures. The ultimatum has sparked World War III fears as White House sources reveal the Prime Minister could launch a cyber attack on Russia in the wake of such events. Do you ever wonder, all these cyber attacks that are going on, if they're just not done by all the governments of the world, and there's very few hackers out there doing it on their own? I've often wondered that it's the governments fighting with each other. And these are acts of war. A cyber attack is an act of war. A supposed chemical attack is an act of war. Russia flying bombers not far off our coast could be considered that. Challenging us. We've been challenging them. The North Korea situation. And we're worried about domestic issues that are irrelevant, in my opinion. Here we are, year by year by year, taking more steps towards a greater conflict that's eventually going to happen. When is it going to happen? I don't know. But we're moving in those directions each and every day. The governments of the world try to get along, then they can't get along. They're doing espionage on each other constantly. We have election fraud in the U.S. supposedly by the Russians, although we can't find any evidence that they influenced the populace enough in one direction or the other. In fact, we've seen them, plenty of evidence that is, that they were playing both sides of the issue. Yet we do the same thing. We've toppled governments. We've interfered in elections. We've supplied rebel groups that turned out to be terrorist groups that became a problem. See, when we have this whole Russian investigation, and just to get on that, the Republicans that is, have decided to end their investigation into Russian meddling. They're saying there's not much there, or not enough to affect the election in any regards. Of course, the Democrats and Mueller are going to keep going on. You had Mueller subpoena some more things this week. This thing's going to go on forever, and it's not producing anything of relevance. And all it's doing seems like it's making Russia a little uppity. China gets to be a little uppity lately. I guess with the Europeans having their dispute with Russia, maybe it'll take the focus off the U.S. having their dispute with Russia. Russia's not a good character in this world. Putin's a bad guy. But we've interfered in elections. We've used social media to direct the hearts and minds of the population of a foreign country. We don't seem to do it much in these third world nations that, oppress women and have religious beliefs that are killing people. We don't seem to have the social media attack dogs for that. There'll be attack dogs if you don't like the Black Panther movie, or if you don't like some kind of feminist agenda. Oh, there's a ton of attack dogs for that. First world agendas, First world agendas are very important to first worlders. Especially when you're a social justice warrior. But you don't see those social justice warriors too worried about the oppression of women in third world countries. Heck, Black Panther comes out, and that movie, in a nutshell, is a portrayal of isolationists that used territorial warfare to dominate other tribes. They hold back all their technological advancements, and they have a nationalistic political belief. Adolf would be proud. It's like the guy in South Africa that wants to take all the houses away from a certain group that has a low melanin count. Same thing. Of course, we have the Republicans who have lost a House seat in Pennsylvania. But there's more than that should be rattling them, ladies and gentlemen. The most dangerous outcome for the Republicans in Tuesday's special House election was not the prospect of a Democrat taking over one of their seats. It was the shrugging off of the great tax plan that they supposedly had. And that's right, that tax plan was so awesome that the average individual who sees no benefit the individual that sees no benefit from that, unless you have kids and you can claim the kids. We also have gas prices could rise this spring and approach a tipping point. They're saying that price of a gallon of gas could go up to $2.70. Well, let's see. We have spring. It always jacks up during spring. And summer, that's when it's most expensive. Don't ask me why they came up with the rules. I didn't. They have their own reasons why these gas prices go up. Used to be more obvious, if there were tensions in the world somewhere and it would disrupt the flow of oil, then gas would go up, right? Now it's for any reason. We have turmoil, it doesn't seem to go up, but if we don't have turmoil, it goes up for another reason. So we can never tell why it goes up, why it goes down. Probably just that rich people aren't getting enough money and they figure they better charge more per gallon because they can get more in the summer because people travel more. Of course, that great tax reduction that the Republicans gave us back in December, that's going to be for naught because they want, or at least some GOP members, want an internet tax. That way if you buy anything online, it goes to them because, hey, they've got to get their cut. I don't know what the hell they're doing to get that cut. But they want their cut, ladies and gentlemen. And if you don't get that cut, if you're not the government and you don't get that cut, that's bad. You're avoiding paying your taxes and we need more tax money. It literally is a ball of crap. We have to constantly be barraged with this tax plan, and then it works for a minute, but it's not good enough, so we got to get a second round of tax plan. But then in the second round of tax plan, we can actually raise taxes somewhere else to help us offset the cost of the lost tax revenue that happened because we gave 1% back to the individual. It's ridiculous. When we get back on the other side of this, we're going to talk about some Michigan issues that are on the horizon that a lot of people are debating over. And, well, I have my 2 cents on that. Stay tuned. We'll have more right after this.
Where do you think you're going?
The John Lebang Show will be right back.
So grab a beer and a smoke and sit your butt back down. Stay right here.
Pane in the Glass, commercial and residential window cleaning for a beautiful sparkling shine that's crystal clear. Call Pane in the Glass Window Cleaning. You can find them on Facebook at Pane in the Glass.
If you want to contact the John Lebang Show, feel free to send an email to jaylabang@live.com. And if you're on Twitter, look him up at John Lebang. And don't forget to go to his Facebook page at The John Lebang Show. Now here's John.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as we're in the final segment here in the first hour. I want to get to a local issue that's really come to the forefront. There are a lot of people discussing the fact that we need some kind of updated transit system here in the state of Michigan so that the people who don't have the money to afford their own vehicle can find some way in and out of the city and other places to get jobs. You know, the business owners out there, this is the excuse they're using. The business owners out there want this transit system because it'll bring them more people to work for them. That's the excuse going around. And we're now having bills talked about, and they're trying to get some legislation, and they're acting like they're going to give us something back in return. But you always know that when the government does something, that you don't actually get what is promised. Doesn't always turn out that way. Here we are, and I think it's like $5 billion, or it's some incredible number that they want to pour into making this giant transit system that's going to take ferry people around the communities. because somehow they can't afford it and the business owners want it. The business owners need it so they can get quality people to their jobs so they can hire people, right? Then why don't the business owners, if they need it so bad, pitch in their money? Because it's not their money that is being talked about. It's gonna come through a millage tax, which means my house is gonna get taxed for a transit system that business wants and that people who can't afford a car want. So you're telling me that we're not already taxed enough? We didn't get a major tax cut from the federal government, yet our state government, who's got potholes all over the place and who is spitting out money every place but the infrastructure, or very little in the infrastructure, which I thought that's what our taxes went for. You know, our taxes are supposed to pay for roads and the electrical grid, maybe the school system, you know, infrastructure, right? Buildings and stuff. Yet they don't have enough money to fix the potholes, and they want a transit system that the business owners want. Why is it that the business owners want something, yet they never want to pay for it? We have a hockey arena that $250 million came out of the taxpayer fund. Taxpayer ain't getting any revenue back from the hockey arena. They're not paying extra to pay back that money. Now they want to invoke a new transit because it's the future, right? Future transit, put more people on it. I've seen the buses around here, they're pretty empty. And you want to get a transit system, a more efficient one? We don't have money for potholes, yet that is one of the primary reasons why we pay taxes is for infrastructure. So our cars are getting damaged and we have to pay more on insurance to cover that kind of thing because they haven't figured a way to clean the snow off or to deal with the weather up here in Michigan, and I'm sure it's other states as well. And it just wreaks havoc on the roads. So we have that problem. We also have a bunch of construction going on to infrastructure that was so neglected that it's in disarray. We have a state, if we want to go down to Florida, they just build a new bridge there that collapsed down on people because something ain't right down there, some kind of error. So we're not doing our infrastructure any justice, yet here in Michigan, they want to add another layer of infrastructure, which would be a transit system. It's just a boondoggle. It's just going to be a waste of money. The taxpayers, the people who own houses, already pay enough in taxes. We didn't get that big of a break from the federal government like the corporations did. There's 14% reduction for the corporations. The taxpayer got 1 or 2%, somewhere in there. If the business owners want a transit system, then let all the business owners pay into the system. They've got to pay to keep up whatever transit they're providing. If they want it, if those quality workers are out there, if they think they can drag in people from the city of Detroit and other places that are poverty-stricken, they can drag in quality people from those areas if they think they can do this. See, this is all facade. Yet the claim is that the business owners want this transit system to bring people from those areas to places that have jobs so they can fix those areas up. Well, then why don't they pay for it? Don't take it out of the millage. Don't take it out of my property taxes. We're already taxed enough, ladies and gentlemen. How much more do they want to bleed out us? You see, governments won't be happy until they take 100% of the money you bring home. They don't deserve any of this that they take already. We've got cities like Pontiac here in Michigan that have a city tax just for working there. Are you serious? City of Detroit's like that. A city tax. Something's wrong there where they have to tax your income so they can have whatever infrastructure or pension plans or whatever they need that money for.
Here's tonight's random thought with John Lebang.
You know, if all these politicians want to fund these projects that they are so involved in, why don't they start a GoFundMe page? In fact, maybe that's how we should fund the government from here on out. Just start a GoFundMe page for every single budgetary item there is. And let's see how much financial support the taxpayers would give these special interests.
This has been a random thought from John Lebang.
Tax money should only be used for some sort of infrastructure, that being roads, school systems, since we've taken that on as the government, because parents aren't responsible enough to teach their kids. I guess we don't want them teaching their kids. It's probably a good idea. I've seen how some of these parents are out there. They haven't saved a dime for their kids all these years. They've wasted it left and right. So why do you think their kids are so wasteful? You know, I get a kick out of that. Now I'm on to a whole different topic, but it all relates. It's just human beings aren't very responsible, and the ones that are responsible seem to be the ones that have to carry the weight for the herd. And it's an irritating and terrible thing that is pushed this country, that we take from everybody who's productive to support business who already makes a ton of money, the unproductive, and politicians who are taking care of the rest of their lives, especially the higher ups who have security details paid for. You shouldn't have a pension from the government. That is public service, man. But there's never enough money to pay for that. So what do? We got to have this and this and this we want. We want these things. We don't want to take it from the people who want it to pay for it. Business wants a transit system. The poor people want the transit system so they can get to the jobs. Don't make the property owner pay for it when they've probably bought a car so they can get to work. They probably don't have enough money to do certain things, but they tighten their belt and they go to work and they do what they have to do to survive because they're productive. I love the argument. We've talked about it many times here. The argument that corporations give jobs to everybody. Well, we buy stuff from the corporation, so it's a symbiotic relationship. Those corporations wouldn't exist without the people who buy stuff. Yet when the corporations want something, they expect the people who buy stuff to pay for what they want. Like I said, the hockey arena down here in Detroit, $250 million of taxpayer money went to a private building so they could have a hockey team there and a basketball team because they knew it would generate tax revenue in the city of Detroit, which was in dire need of some kind of financial infusion. So they make the taxpayer pay for it. They make the taxpayer pay for the bottled water up in Flint. Even though it wasn't the taxpayer who screwed it up, we've been paying for the infrastructure. Why did it go bad? It went bad because crappy politicians don't know how to spend money properly, and they decide they want to pander to people, so they need money out of the government general fund to pander people because they don't want to pull it out of their own pocket. They don't want to give people money out of their own pocket. That would violate some kind of election rule. But then they can use government money, which is really taxpayer money, once removed, in an effort to bribe people into voting for them or keeping them in office longer, when that money should be going for infrastructure instead of special interests. And when they don't have enough money for that infrastructure that we've already paid into, that's part of the general fund, they come up with every reason to spend money out of the general fund. The taxpayer has to pay because some special interest wants something. Right now, it's the transit thing here in Detroit. But do we really need to fund another transit system here in the city of Detroit, the state of Michigan? When it's not the taxpayer who wants it, the taxpayer already has their car and they can get to work. They're the productive ones. So you want to take from the productive to give to corporations and to the non-productive. Maybe you can make them productive that way is what you're thinking, right? Maybe if you can have some way to bus them to these corporations that are handing out jobs at just above minimum wage. You know, that's a great working wage there. I'm not even a fan of minimum wage. But because we have a minimum wage, corporations pay everybody about the same, even though some people have more experience than others. Because we got to be fair. We got to be fair. It's no longer whoever excels, and whoever can excels just gets blown by the way. We can't have that. We can't leave people in the dust because they can't keep up anymore. We got to help them along. Because it's the right thing to do. The right thing to do. I know the right thing to do right now, ladies and gentlemen. We're at the end of the first hour. So I've got to thank you for listening and thank my affiliate stations for allowing us to be part of their networks. Don't forget to go to my website. That's www.jaylabang.com. Thank you again. I can't thank you enough for listening. I might have been a little snarky tonight. Wasn't very news orientated as far as just giving you the pure facts. A lot of opinion tonight. You come to expect something different each and every night. We're not a generic show here. The John Lebang Show is anything but generic. And until the vibrations of my vocal cords reach your ears again, and for some of you, that's in the next hour, this is John Lebang signing off. Until we meet again.
T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5,